Okay, now I watched this Destiny streamer. God love him. He's like a junior in high school studying law. It's like, let's get on with Uncivil Law. I mean, who is that guy? The guy's like talking to a brick, dude. So this has nothing to do with my opinion of whether or not it was insurrection, whether or not I like Trump. That was just looking at things and it just wasn't adding up. All right, guys, peace. Good night. As we discuss the insurrection of January 6th, that day that will live in infamy, where thousands of moronic, brainwashed, patriotic individuals stormed the Capitol building and thought that they were taking back the people's house for Trump and for the rightful, duly elected president of the United States, who had sent his own fakey electors, was pressuring Pence to get them to be chosen so that he could win and the insurrection would be complete. Now, that's the plot that may have been going on that Destiny, the streamer, famous guy, would have you to believe was actually in play. Now, that arguably is what was a scenario. The legal team, led by John Eastman, the now disgraced lawyer, once great lawyer, now disgraced lawyer, for advising Trump that was a possible scenario that could legally be argued, even if it failed. That Trump should do it because Obama did this and these other presidents did these things, and therefore it's a possible thing that the electors could be recalled at the last moment on the basis that maybe one of the states or a few of the states had determined that it actually was a fraudulent election. And therefore they would need to find new electors, and those electors would be there ready to stand by in order to step in. And therefore, since it never came to pass, they were just ready to, there was not an actual criminal intent to actually be fraudulent electors. This is what Glenn Greenwald was trying to explain to Destiny. Destiny didn't quite understand this. I think it's a plausible argument. It wasn't Glenn Greenwald. It was actually Rekieta Law. He was explaining this to Destiny, and it just wasn't getting through. Okay, now fast forward, Destiny's arguing that the 14th Amendment with the Krassersteins on some show where he's arguing with the Alex Jones character and Glenn Greenwald, who's remote, that somehow the 14th Amendment could apply to Donald Trump as a former president of the United States who's now running for president. When the 14th Amendment doesn't say president in there, it says civil officers under the United States, which it says civil officer, civil office, and other parts of the Constitution. It lists out president, vice president separately. So obviously just on its face, it's like flawed. This is just like broad reading of civil officers. Okay, but beyond that, Section 5 says that Congress shall have the power to enforce these sections by the legislation. Doesn't say the states. And then finally, and this is something I pointed out in the video that I made right after the whole thing broke, that Trump wasn't going to be on the ballot because the Colorado Supreme Court had done this and the Secretary of State of Maine had done that. At that point, I was like, this is ridiculous, because this amendment was passed during Reconstruction, during the period of time where Confederate states had all these officials who had served in the government, federal level, potentially back on their ballots, with all of the people who had been defeated and fought for the Confederacy voting for them. And then they would go up to Congress and they would meddle and do whatever that they could do to disrupt. That's one of the reasons why the 14th Amendment was in place, to stop the election of senators and to stop the election of Congress people who would go up and be Confederates. Okay, this was no longer going to be the Confederate States. There's going to be slavery. It's going to be the United States of America. And we're all going to be part of it. There's going to be no insurrectionists. But Alex, that's ridiculous. There's no way anybody could be ever found guilty of insurrection. Well, you actually could. There was a federal law that under Section 5 would give the federal legislature the power to enact that says you could be charged with insurrection under this code. No one was ever charged with that January 6th. Now, I would agree that there was thousands of moronic people who stormed the Capitol. One of them got shot, Ashley Babbitt. People are like, oh, she was the only one who got shot. Other people died. There were some officers from, probably some stress, right? The lady died. What was she doing in there? Why would she do something like that? Not smart people, not thinking. So this has nothing to do with my opinion of whether or not it was insurrection, whether or not I like Trump. This is simply an opinion of one lawyer who understands the situation that was just looking at things and it just wasn't adding up. Okay, now I watched this Destiny streamer. God love him. He's like a junior in high school studying law. It's like, let's get on with Uncivil Law. I mean, who is that guy? A guy's like talking to a brick, dude. This is Alexander Napolin, attorney at large. Follow me, subscribe to my channel, like my content, share it with friends and family because they need to understand the current events from a perspective that is legally sound. All right, guys. Peace. Good night.